Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to go, well, beyond the surface and really look at knowledge that might genuinely shift how you see things. Navigating all the demands life throws at us, it often feels like searching for some kind of personal operating system, right? Like a reliable internal compass. It's a real challenge, I think, to stay grounded and purposeful and effective with all the noise out there. So today we're taking a deep dive into something called Kenny's Animal Research Notes 2. It's this fascinating personal project, actually, and it offers this surprisingly insightful framework for understanding ourselves and how we move through the world. It could be a shortcut to some real aha moments for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And our mission for this dive is to really unpack the layers Kenny found, the scientific, the cultural, the psychological stuff for three specific animals. We've got the tortoise, the salmon, and the ant. And then crucially, we'll show how their strengths aren't just, separate ideas. They can actually be braided together into a really cohesive and powerful framework for personal effectiveness. So get ready. You might discover how these ancient archetypes offer some really profound practical wisdom for your life today.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Started with the tortoise. When I think tortoise, the first thing that comes to mind is just that groundedness,
Yeah.
patience, impossible to rush, and that image of the shell. It's not just a home, it feels like a portable sanctuary.
Yeah.
Calm outside, but incredibly sturdy inside. So what does Kenny's framework really show us about the tortoise, especially in contrast to our fast-paced world?
Well, that's exactly where Kenny starts digging in. We all know they're slow, right? But the biology behind it really underscores this radical counter-narrative to our obsession with speed. Their shells, obviously, are robust armor that's clear protection, but maybe more importantly, it's their longevity. We're talking 80 to 150 years typically, and some records go way beyond that. Tuimalilla, 188 years, maybe even older ones. This isn't just about surviving. Kenny frames it as endurance, sustainable performance, and their slow movements hiding in their shell. Those aren't weaknesses. They're smart strategies. And in colder places, they do this thing called brumation, kind of like seasonal inactivity. Kenny looks at that and says that's scheduled recovery. It's a big lesson in knowing when to pause, not just when to push harder.
Scheduled recovery. I like that. It really hits different in a world that seems to praise burnout sometimes. So the tortoise shows a different way to, win in the long run. How does Kenny connect this sort of radical slowness and protection to, our human experience beyond just the biology?
Right, the biology sets the stage, but it's the stories, the ancient myths that really bring these ideas home. Culturally, mythologically, the tortoise is massive, globally, really. Think about the Native American Turtle Island legend, the whole earth on a tortoise's back. That screams stability. Or in Hinduism, Kurma, Vishnu's avatar as a tortoise, literally supporting creation. Even those West African trickster tales, like the tortoise and the hare,
Yeah.
they teach persistence, the power of that steady pace. So across all of these, the symbolism is really consistent. Longevity, wisdom, stability, protection, and just this deep, unshakable patience. So Kenny sees the tortoise within us as the steadfast guardian, or maybe the slow journey hero. It's about winning through rhythm, keeping your word over the long haul, building that quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. And that shell, it's not just physical armor. It represents our internal boundaries, knowing exactly when it's time to tuck in, for that crucial recovery and when to step out bravely. It's really a powerful lesson in managing our energy sustainably. So for you listening, maybe think about this. What boundary is protecting your energy today? What non-negotiable rest do you need to actually schedule to sustain your pace, not just for today, but for the long game?
Okay, so from that deep, steady rhythm, that self-protection of the tortoise, we pivot now to something demanding action, purpose. What happens when the world calls us to move, to push against resistance, not just guard our inner world? And that's where Kenny brings in the next animal, the salmon. Its core vibe, he says, is loyalty, grit, and his idea of return to source wisdom, Yaski. He calls it the upstream heart, choosing the path that means something, not just the easy float downstream, even when it's really, really hard.
Oh, the science of the salmon's life is just mind-blowing, honestly. They're anadromous, right? So they live in both fresh and salt water. Their journey is a genuine odyssey. They start as these tiny freshwater hatchlings, then transform into powerful ocean swimmers, and then they undergo another transformation, getting those vibrant colors as they start that incredible migration, often thousands of miles, all the way back to the exact river they were born in just to spawn. It's not just a trip. It's this profound act of sacrifice and unwavering purpose. And, Atlantic salmon might sometimes repeat the run, but Pacific species, they famously die after that one epic spawning journey. Their bodies literally enrich the river that gave them life. It's beyond perseverance. It's like ultimate dedication.
Wow, that level of dedication, almost suicidal to one single purpose. It's incredible. But it makes me wonder, Kenny celebrates swimming upstream, which sounds great, but where's the line? When does that become self-destructive instead of purposeful?
Hmm.
Does he talk about that cost?
That's a really important point. And yes, Kenny does acknowledge the cost. He emphasizes that the salmon's journey isn't just about struggle for struggle's sake. It's about choosing that struggle because of a higher purpose, something fundamental pulling you back, like your internal values, your natal river. It's not just proving you can swim upstream, it's because that's where you belong, essentially. And this is why, culturally and mythologically, the salmon is so significant. In Celtic and Irish stories, you've got the salmon of knowledge, right? Gave Fionn McCumhale wisdom. So it signifies insight gained through hardship. And for indigenous tribes in the Pacific Northwest, the reverence is even deeper. They hold first salmon ceremonies. They see them as gift-bearing relatives, absolutely central to their spiritual life, their community. So globally, the salmon becomes this archetype of abundance, renewal, and especially that unparalleled perseverance that comes from fierce loyalty. Kenny interprets the salmon as the purpose-driven fighter inside us all. It's the part of you that leans into the current, guided by your values, almost like a salmon uses the Earth's magnetic field. Kenny calls it integrity as an internal GPS. But it's more than just knowing your values. It's about fiercely living them, right? Even when everything seems to be pulling you off track. That takes real courage. And crucially, like you pointed out with the Pacific salmon, their efforts aren't just for themselves. Their journey leaves something behind: nutrients, skills, kindness, making the river richer, as Kenny puts it. It's about legacy. So for you listening, maybe ask yourself, what's the next upstream move that really matters to you in, say, the next year? And just as importantly, what are the shiny detours you can consciously decide to ignore to stay true to that path, knowing the impact it could have?
Okay, so tortoise protects the inner world. Salmon gives us the courage for the meaningful outer path. But what about when the goals are bigger than just us? When we need to coordinate, build something together, multiply our efforts? This is where Kenny introduces the smallest, but maybe the most impactful of the three, the ant. Its whole vibe is teamwork, design in motion, the power of tiny, consistent acts leading to huge outcomes. He calls it superorganism thinking. And Kenny's insights here are pretty fascinating.
Oh, they really are. Ants are just incredible examples of what scientists call eusociality, living in these highly organized communities as superorganisms. What makes them super isn't just teamwork, it's that through these coordinated roles and communication, they achieve things no single ant could ever dream of. Every ant worker, soldier, queen, drone, it understands its specific role, its tile on the mosaic, Kenny says, contributing to this collective intelligence and power that builds massive colonies, finds food efficiently. Their communication, mostly through chemicals called pheromones, allows for incredibly precise, coordinated action. And they're everywhere, except Antarctica. They're masters of adaptation. They farm aphids. They grow fungus gardens. It's amazing ingenuity.
Yeah, that's a huge shift in thinking about productivity, isn't it? It's not just being busy. It's about making the impossible seem routine through these like almost invisible, consistent, coordinated actions. So how does Kenny translate that intrinsic design for efficiency into something practical for us, for our modern lives?
Exactly. And their story is woven into our human history, too. Culturally, mythologically, ants pop up everywhere. You've got that ancient Greek myth about gold-digging ants in India. Native American Hopi origin stories feature ants. Universally, they symbolize things like diligence, unity, courage, patience, industriousness. You see it in Native American traditions, Asian cultures, even biblical references. And it's pretty telling that humans noticed ants farming, tending aphids, leaf cutters, growing fungus ages before we figured out agriculture ourselves. It highlights their ancient intrinsic design for efficiency. So Kenny sees the ant archetype as the quiet multiplier. This is the part of us that understands real power comes from building systems. Systems where everyone knows their role precisely, ensuring every little micro move adds up to the bigger goal. Their pheromone paths, he suggests, are like our playbooks, our checklists, our standard operating procedures, our rituals, things that ensure smooth, coordinated work. This allows for what Kenny calls targeted heft, meaning focused, collective power. Power that moves mountains not through one giant push, but through countless small, consistent ones, leveraging that compound effect. So, for you listening, maybe think, how can you translate your next important task or project into a super clear, maybe 3-line brief for your team, or even just for yourself, Goal owner done when, just bringing that ant-like clarity and coordination into your work.
Amazing stuff. So we've got the steady guardian, the purpose-driven fighter, and the quiet multiplier. But how do these different strengths actually work together inside us? Kenny's synthesis really brings it home, explaining how they braid together.
The tortoise, he says, sets the tempo, protects your pace, focuses on durable, long-term wins. Then the salmon sets the direction, making sure you choose that meaningful upstream path, guided by your core values. And finally, the ant sets the method, organizing people and tasks, so momentum doesn't just build, it actually sticks, creating that targeted heft.
Yeah, and it becomes really practical with this quick use playbook Kenny outlines called Shell a Stream Swarm. It's super actionable for dealing with daily stuff. So Shell, tortoise, focus is protecting your energy. Could be as simple as saying one clean no to something non-essential, or actually scheduling real rest you won't compromise on, even just 5 minutes to breathe when things get chaotic. Then, stream, salmon. This is about guiding your next key upstream move. The advice is clear. Pick one critical thing that aligns with your deeper purpose, and then consciously ignore, say, 3 shiny distractions that will just pull you off course. And finally, swarm, ant. You take that chosen move and translate it into a brief fraction, that simple 3-liner. Goal owner, done when. Pin it somewhere visible for your team, or even just for yourself. Clarity.
Yeah, I can totally see how practical that is. And it leads into this idea of situational channeling, right? Knowing which animal to tap into when. Like, if you're facing a crisis, loads of noise,
Yeah.
you channel the tortoise, slow the tempo way down, shorten your to-do list to maybe just 3 absolutely essential things, make the day winnable again. It's about shrinking the scope to regain control.
Precisely. Or maybe you're facing a values test, a really hard choice. Short-term pain, maybe, but long-term integrity is on the line. You channel the salmon. Pick the option you'd be proud to explain to your future self, the one that feels true, even if it's harder, using that internal compass.
Right. And then if you're scaling up work, starting a big new project, especially one that feels overwhelming, that's when you channel the ant. Design the lane lines first. Get the system clear. Speed comes after clarity, not before.
Yeah.
Don't just rush it.
Exactly. Kenny even throws in these 60-second resets, like little micro habits to reinforce these archetypes throughout the day. For grounding, tortoise, just feet flat on the floor, breathe maybe 4 seconds in, hold 4, out 6. List 2 non-negotiables you need to protect for the next hour. Simple. For courage, salmon, write that one tough email or message you've been putting off, the upstream one, and just hit send. Get it done. And for coordination, post a quick micro-update status, any block, next step, and invite one teammate to swarm with you on one specific thing. Tiny actions, big reinforcement.
And to really tie it all together visually, Kenny even imagined this crest tattoo concept, a symbol for this integrated identity. Picture like a simple dome arc to the tortoise shell as the base. Protection, stability. Then cutting upward through it, a rising river curve the salmon's path. Purpose, courage. And then maybe overlaid on the leading edge, a tiny fragment of a hex or triangle grid the ant system. Coordination, collective action, and the motto he suggests for this combination: steady, true, together. It really pulls it all together, doesn't it? Maybe something for you to think about. How could you integrate these strengths? What might your personal crest look like? Wow, what a journey we've been on. We've gone from understanding these individual, really incredible strengths, tortoise, salmon, ant, to seeing how they don't just exist separately, but can actually form this cohesive, really powerful personal playbook for navigating life's complexities and maybe even achieving those big, ambitious goals.
Absolutely. And just remember Kenny's North Stars. Those simple one-liners that capture the essence. Protect the pace, that's the tortoise. Choose the upstream, guided by the salmon. And multiply the effort with the ant. These aren't just ideas, they're really actionable reminders for becoming more effective in your own way.
Totally agree. So as you go about your week, maybe consider, what animals resonate most with your approach, your way of handling challenges, pursuing goals? What unique superorganism might you be? And how could you lean into its inherent strengths more consciously to find your own flow, your own purpose, your own impact? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into self-discovery and, well, the surprising wisdom we can find in the animal kingdom.